Hello, hello, my friends. It is already that time of the month. Heck, it is already that time of the year. Today's video, I am going to be sharing with you what is on my Caramel Sundays wish list for their June restock. And the reason why I'm saying it's already that time of year, because Caramel Sundays is diving right on into all of their fall fragrances with this restock. I am really excited because this is my first year really shopping fall fragrances with Caramel Sundays. There is one fragrance that's going to be offered this time around that I did purchase last year, but that was more at the tail end of their fall season. So a lot of these fragrances are going to be my first time hoping I'm able to get my hands on them. And fun fact about me, you guys, I love fragrance pretty much any time of the year, but I would say that if somebody were to ask me which fragrances are my favorite, I love fall fragrances. I love the variety of fragrances in the fall time. I think a lot of that comes from the fact that where I live, I actually don't experience true fall. So I have to create it inside of my home because if I go outside, it's still 90 degrees well into late October. So I get really excited about fall, and truthfully, I think a lot of people are kind of like, doesn't June feel a little bit early to introduce fall? Well, the truth of the matter is that most brands are actually going to be putting all of their fall stuff out in early July. Even looking at last year, Kringle started giving us notification as an affiliate and an ambassador. They started giving us our, sneak peek and our PR for fall in early July. Bath and Body Works is going to put their fall displays up in early July. That's what I've heard. Last year, Homework started giving us some of their fall transitional scents in early July. So considering that this restock is going to be happening this Sunday, June 29th, right before the beginning of July, a lot of these candles will ship in early July. I feel like they are right on par with a lot of the other major candle brands. So I'm very excited to talk about what is on my wish list today. So if you like this video, please make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing to my channel if you are new. I will make sure that I list in the description box all of the details you need to shop this restock. I will give details at the end of this video. If you are unfamiliar with Caramel Sunday's business model, it's a little bit different than some of the other brands that I typically purchase candles from. And maybe if you're just coming across this video for the first time, if you're coming across this brand for the first time, I'll give you my tips and tricks for how to shop at the end of this video. But let's go ahead and get into what is on my wish list. I'm going to go ahead and start out with the 4-wick 40-ounce vessels. These do retail for $64.99, so they are a little bit pricier. However, I personally find that the 4-wicks perform best in my open concept home. Now, the thing is, I've actually had a couple of 2-wicks that have done very well for me in the past. Most recently, their Summer Sorbet candle is doing very well in my open concept, and that's a 2-wick. I would say the strongest performing 2-wick that I've ever had from Caramel Sundays was their Truffle Butter Cookie. That was part of like their winter holiday lineup. But the 2-wicks sometimes do perform pretty well for me, but I would say that if given the option, I generally try to go for the 4-wicks. So I, at the moment, have 2 4-wick candles listed on my wish list. The first one is Dad's Pumpkin Pie. I am a sucker for pumpkin pie fragrances. I love pumpkin pie fragrances. So when I saw that that one was listed, I was like, yeah, I definitely want to get my hands on it. Now, this fragrance is also going to be available in the 2-wick format. Those retail for $31.99. All of these prices do include the shipping costs on it. So you're going to want to pay attention to that. Again, if you've never shopped with them before, I'll give you more details on that at the end. Dad's Pumpkin Pie has fragrance notes, top notes of ginger, allspice, and cinnamon, mid notes of pumpkin, brown sugar, and nutmeg, and a base note of clove, molasses, and vanilla. So this totally sounds right up my alley. One of my favorite pumpkin pie fragrances, it was, I believe it came back to Bath and Body Works last year. It was called, I think they called it last year Pumpkin Cream or Pumpkin Crema. I think it was Pumpkin Cream. But before that, it used to be called, I think it was just called Pumpkin Pie at Bath and Body Works. And I love that fragrance. It's a great pumpkin pie fragrance. But as you guys know, I've been very vocal on my channel. Bath & Body Works is very hit and miss performance for me. Oftentimes I get puny wicks, or sometimes I get a burn smell going on. So I'm very curious to see how Caramel Sundays does a pumpkin pie fragrance. So that is one of the fragrances that is on my wish list for the 40-ounce vessel. The other candle that is very much on my wish list, in fact, spoiler alert, this is my #1 priority fragrance that I do want to get my hands on, is Toasted Pumpkin Crunch. We have fragrance notes are listed as top notes of clove, cinnamon, nutmeg, mid notes of pumpkin, sugar, and buttercream, and base notes of smoke and vanilla. Now that one, I've heard from other people who have had that candle in the past that it is a phenomenal fall fragrance. I have a feeling that one's probably going to be pretty quick to sell out. So that one is my #1 priority. But as you can tell, I am somebody who loves spicy, pumpkin-y, gourmand fragrances in the fall. I actually, again, I like a variety of fragrances, and you'll see that as we get into the 2 wicks. But when we're talking about fall fragrances, if it's pumpkin, I'm not really a big fan of like pumpkin spice latte type of scents. I'm not really big on like coffee and pumpkin scents, but I do love a good pumpkin gourmand. So that one has definitely caught my eye. Now, the other fragrance that is going to be available in a 4-wick that I would 100% recommend, I did do a dedicated review on this fragrance, is their staple fragrance, which is Bakery on Main. Bakery on Main will be making a return this restock in the 4-wick 40-ounce vessel. And I am going to tell you guys, I've had that candle. I haven't had that exact candle. I had Whoville Bakery in a 2-wick back like last Christmas season. And that one, I feel like if I look up the fragrance notes, I feel like those were very, very similar to Bakery on Main. Maybe it was just repackaged for the holiday season. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember. And then I've had it in the 4-wick 40-ounce vessel. And then when they offered the big, huge, like big Mama Jamma ones, I have it sitting over there on my dining room table. I have Bakery on Main in a huge vessel. I will tell you guys, I think I prefer it the most in that 4-wick 40-ounce. I mean, I'm not mad at my big vessel, but I do notice that that one takes a little bit longer time to pull out, and so therefore takes a little bit more time to get a deep wax pull and get it going to start throwing. But that 4-wick 40-ounce in Bakery on Main, if you love a good, just vanilla cupcake type of fragrance, you want something that's going to blend well with a variety of other fragrances, maybe just amp up that level of like coziness and warmth in your house, and you like a good, like I said, vanilla bakery type of fragrance, I would compare it mostly to Vanilla Bean from Bath & Body Works. If you like Bath & Body Works Vanilla Bean, which doesn't perform well for me, I would recommend taking a look at Bakery on Main. But again, I do recommend it mostly in that 4-wick 40-ounce vessel. I have had really good success with it in my open concept. I've been very open with the fact that a lot of vanilla fragrances do not perform well in the open concept areas of my home. I don't know what it is, but that Bakery on Main in the 4-wick 40-ounce vessel performs the best. So if you've had your eye on it, I would say strike now. That fragrance actually even still pairs well with a lot of other like fall, summer to fall transitional fragrances. It's been a great blender for me with a lot of my summer fragrances that I'm still burning. So if you're wanting something that's not yet, if you're not ready for fall yet and you're wanting something that, you know, could blend well with some of your other summer fragrances, then I would recommend Bakery on Main. Love, love, love that fragrance. Also, forgot to say this at the beginning of the video, but I do always want to make it perfectly clear. I have no affiliation with Caramel Sundays. They do not do PR. They don't do sponsored videos, nothing like that. I do always like to just put that out there. If you're new to my channel, I do have affiliations with other brands. I do have affiliations with Kringle and Homeworks, but I do always let you guys know at the very beginning of a video if I'm showcasing products that were sent in PR or, anything like that. I will always be very, very upfront with you. I don't do sponsored content. So just wanted to put that out there for you guys. This is a video that I just started doing on my channel every month. Gosh, probably starting back in February because, a lot of people like to know what's on my wish list for the Caramel Sundays restock. And I thought that this would just be a fun video to put out. Okay, you guys, let's go ahead and talk about the 2-wick vessels. Now, these are marketed. They're around 18 ounces. All of Caramel Sundays is a 100% soy wax. very much pride themselves on being a clean home fragrance brand. Not just home fragrance, but any of their like body care products, their cleaning products. They do not use a lot of the common toxins that a lot of people are very concerned about these days. They don't use phthalates, parabens, VOCs, things like that. They are very clean. So if that's something that's important to you, you might want to pay attention or have some interest in this brand. All right, so the first fragrance that is on my wish list for the 2 weeks is the fragrance Coffin Cake. We have top notes of, once again, pumpkin spice, brown sugar, frosting, mid notes of cinnamon and clove, and a base notes of butter, cream, not buttercream, but butter, cream, vanilla, and nutmeg. Now, I've heard from others that this is a beautiful spice cake fragrance. I did have their iced carrot cake fragrance a couple of months ago in kind of like a spring Easter lineup, and I enjoyed that fragrance. So I'm very curious to see how Coffin Cake compares, if it's similar to their iced carrot cake. But that sounds delicious. Again, I can always use a good spice cake fragrance. And in fact, I'm thinking of pairing that one with, I have another carrot cake fragrance from Kringle that I had back in the springtime. And I thought, you know what, that would be a great pairing if I could pair it with Coffin Cake, because I feel like they would, you know, complement each other really nicely. So Coffin Cake is on my wish list. Another one that might surprise some people. Now, this is going outside of like my typical like pumpkin gourmand type of fragrances. But another scent that I am interested in is Fall Gathering. We have top notes of peach, spice, warmth, mid notes of berries and cinnamon, and base notes of clove and spice. And this one intrigues me because I don't know, sometimes I like, you know, I love all the pumpkin and the gourmands, particularly as I get more into like the month of October, but leading, I would say like mid-August through, let's say, I would say through like September, that's when sometimes I want some of those like apple, cranberry, you know, I'm not yet quite ready to delve into all of the pumpkin gourmands. So that's my time to kind of experiment with some other fall fragrances. So that one has me intrigued. It just sounds like it, I don't know, maybe not the same vein, but like I like fragrances like Harvest Leaves from Homeworks. And while they don't have the same type of fragrance notes, it just, that fragrance like blend just sounds really, really nice. And then I have 2 more fragrances on my wish list in the 2 weeks. Another one, I just mentioned that I do tend to like apple fragrances during that time of year. I am very interested in a fragrance called Apple Truffle. We have top notes of apple and warm oats, mid notes of butterscotch cream, and a base note of cinnamon sugar. Now, I can't remember if they said that this has some similar components to that truffle butter cookie, which again, that one was a powerhouse for me. So this one definitely has caught my eye and I am very intrigued by it. This looks like a perfect fragrance to burn in the month of, you know, September, I would say maybe late August, although I'll talk about that at the end of this video. I am actually not going to be home for a good chunk of late August. So I feel like I'm going to have to get to burning these beforehand. And then the last fragrance that I have on my 2-week wish list, well, kind of, we'll talk about that here in just a minute, Autumn Jam. Now, this is one that was not initially on my wish list, but Sierra, one of the owners of Caramel Sundays, really, really loves this fragrance. It has top notes of apple and citrus, mid notes of cranberry and spice, and a base note of wood and dried clove. She says that I think this is one of her favorite fall fragrances that they offer. She really, really loves this one. Again, she says it's a versatile, like autumnal fragrance that you can burn anywhere from September through November. I see this one being a nice kind of fruity, you know, we've got some fruity accords in there mixed with some spice and woodiness. So I've had a lot of success with Caramel Sundays fragrances that are not strictly gourmand scents. I like their take. Like I said, last holiday season, I got some that had some of those like woody or spice notes in it, and I really, really liked them. So I definitely, this one is on my radar. Now, they do have another fragrance that did intrigue me because they made a comparison to a fragrance that I've loved for a long time. They have one called, I believe, Always Autumn. And a couple of people have said, in fact, they've even said, I think, if you like Bath & Body Works Autumn, which did not return in 2024, I don't know if it will be returning in 2025. They said that one is comparable. Here's the thing for me, I actually already have a fragrance in my collection that is similar to autumn, and that would be Kringle's Autumn Amber. That one smells very similar to me as Bath & Body Works Autumn. So I already have that in my collection, so that's why that one is not on my radar. But if I did not already have Autumn Amber in my collection, I would definitely probably look at purchasing that one. And then there is another 2-wick that I do highly recommend in this lineup, but because I've already had it before, I kind of have to prioritize my budget towards getting new fragrances. However, if like, say for example, I go in to purchase and say like one of these sells out and this one is still available, then I probably would consider purchasing it again. It is the fragrance Pistachio Cranberry. I loved that fragrance last year. Very, very well done. I personally love the way that Caramel Sundays does cranberry. I'm not always a fan of how every brand does cranberry. I think Hallmarks does cranberry pretty well. Kringle does. But I would say that I love the way that Caramel Sundays does cranberry. It's like perfectly balanced. It's not overly tart and kind of like, I would say cranberry sometimes can be a little bit sour to my nose, but I like the way that they do it. Fun fact, I don't like the way that Bath & Body Works does cranberry. Most of their cranberry notes just, they come across a little bit plasticky to my nose. I don't like it. No shade if you love cranberry from Bath & Body Works, but I'm just saying my personal preference is I don't like it. I like the way that Caramel Sundays does it because it's like a sweet cranberry, but they do encapsulate just a little bit of that tartness in there, and I really, really enjoy it. I'm actually currently burning their, their cranberry coconut cream or something like that they had in their May restock. And that was like a last minute addition for me. And it's kind of got that like tart pungency to it that I really, really like, but it's perfectly balanced out with sweetness. But again, I like the way that they do cranberry and I love the way that they do pistachio. That's been no secret. So the Pistachio Cranberry is one that I would highly recommend. And I did get decent performance out of that in a 2-wick last year. I want to say that that was probably around like a 7 for me in terms of strength and throw. Caramel Sundays, because they are 100% soy wax formula, I do find that the 2-wicks, if you want to pop them into a hurricane, you're probably going to amp up some of your strength and throw with them. Even John and Sierra have said that they do get some increased performance in their home by using a hurricane. And that has to do a lot of the time with the fact that soy wax needs to be very, very hot in order to start releasing its fragrance. It's a little bit different than like a paraffin wax. Paraffin wax performs differently. I did talk about this in one of my reviews earlier this week. I can't remember if it was the sea salt and tonka or the sweet cream review, but I did talk about how I do think that that's one of the reasons why in my home soy wax performs very, very well. I actually have said paraffin wax really doesn't perform well in my home, and it makes my walls pretty sooty. Now, that being said, all candles, if you light a flame on it, there's the risk of soot. All of them accrue some type of soot, even with my clean burning soy wax candles. The difference that I notice is that the wax itself doesn't get sooty and gross. It's more so just, the soot that's released into the air. I do own an air purifier. Would highly recommend during the Amazon Prime Day sale picking up an air purifier if you're like me. And I can't be opening my windows. I probably won't open my windows for fresh air until late October, to be honest with you guys. If you're new to my channel, I live in Arizona. The desert portion of Arizona, I am not opening up my windows because the coolest it gets to overnight is usually maybe, well, it's still cooling off a little bit more, but not enough that you want to open up your windows. It doesn't get below 70 this time of year. I'll just put it that way. It does not get below 70 degrees, and that's at the coolest point overnight. So my windows stay closed. And I have to use an air purifier. But where was I going with that? All candles produce some type of soot. Where I was going with that is that paraffin doesn't typically perform well in my home. Soy wax does. And I think that partly it is because the ambient temperature in my home is a little bit warmer than what most people keep their homes at. Again, in one of those reviews, I said, I hear people talking about that they have their air conditioning set to like 65, 66. I would be shivering. Like that is what my home actually gets to in the wintertime here. Like my house will be that temperature in the wintertime, and I am freezing. I have to kick on the heat. It's just too cold in my house at that temperature. Now, that being said, we have ceiling fans on all the time. Every home in Arizona has a lot of ceiling fans. We also have a lot of tile, so that helps, with kind of keeping the house colder. But I think it's just because I grew up in Southern California, a very mild climate, and then moved to Arizona. My blood is very, very thin. Even in perimenopause, it is very thin. And I just think like, oh my gosh, at night I have my temperature set to go down to like 70 and I am freezing at that point. Like I am snuggled up. So I hear people keeping their temperatures at like 66, 65, and I am like, wow, that would be very cold for me. All of that being said, the ambient temperature during the day in my house is usually anywhere between 75 and 77 degrees. And so I think that because the ambient temperature is warmer, once I light a flame to that, the soy wax heats up a little bit faster because it's already warm inside of my house. All of that being said, boy, that was like a 5-minute spiel as to why I think soy wax performs better in my home. But just to want to put that out there, I have done some dedicated reviews on Caramel Sundays candles, so I will make sure that I have my Caramel Sundays wish list linked at the end of this video, so that way you can go back and check them out just to kind of get an idea. Some candles, like I said, have performed really, really well for me. Others have not. Others have been kind of mid-range, so feel free to check that all out. They will also be having some new household cleaners launch. I think they have like a vanilla oak and the return of plain Jane. I love that plain Jane fragrance. It's very similar to the Tyler Candle Company Diva Wash fragrance. Love that scent. I have it in my laundry soap. I do use their laundry soap for my sheets and towels and really, really like that. Cleans well and leaves a nice fragrance. So I do plan to get some of the all-purpose cleaners. I am intrigued by one of their perfume mists. I did pick up 2 perfume mists last time, the Vanilla Pistachio Suede and the griddle cakes. They perform really well, have really long, they have good longevity especially for like a perfume mist. And they're in a nice little like travel size. So I like that I can toss it in my purse and keep it with me on the go. I really like those. They have one, I think it's called it's like a marshmallow type, toasted marshmallow, I think. I am intrigued by that. We'll see if I pick it up. I've got a lot of personal fragrance that I've been trying recently, so I'm trying not to get overwhelmed by all of it. But that one is also on my wish list. So let me know in the comment box down below if you are planning to shop their fall restock. What is on your wish list? I'm always curious to hear what you guys are interested in and what has caught your eye. So if you have already shopped with Caramel Sundays, you may not want to hear the rest of this spiel, but if you have not, if this is your first time shopping with them, or maybe you've tried shopping with them in the past and you want some tips and tricks, that is now the portion of this video that I wanted to share that with you. So down below, I don't have the number memorized, but they do have a number that you can text to go ahead and get on their list to notify you of early access. They will text you a code. It's texting the word candle and it's to a certain number. I'll pop it up right here for you guys so that way you know what it is. Text the word candle to that code. It'll sign you up for the early access. You'll get 2 minutes early access, and you might think that's not, so what, 2 minutes early access? This is very Hunger Games style. All of these candles that I'm talking about today, as well as the entire lineup, is now on the Caramel Sundays website. But when you go to their website right now, it's going to show as being sold out. It is because their business model is that they have a time when they release all of these to the public. It will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Sunday, June 29th at 6:58 Eastern Time. That code is going to be sent out to those who have signed up for the text alert. You're going to get that code. You're going to go to the Caramel Sundays website, enter that code, and then you can shop. Here's tip number 2. If you go in and you fill up your cart, if you are taking the time to fill up your cart with every item that you want on your wish list, or if you're taking the time to peruse, you're going to miss out. So my tip number 2 is to make sure you have your wish list finalized. You know exactly what you're going in to get, and don't be shopping around. You're not going to peruse the website. That is not the time. Peruse the website beforehand. Look at all of the fragrance notes beforehand. You're even going to want to do that. You're going to want to be able to do that like the day before, at least I would say 24 hours before the restock goes live, because they do take the website down. Probably I would say anywhere between 6 and 8 hours before the launch. So you'll want to make sure that you have your wish list finalized. I would say at the bare minimum, have it done like the day before the restock. So by this Saturday, make sure you're done perusing the website, all the fragrance notes, to have your list finalized. The other thing then, once you go into shop, is to prioritize what you really, really want. Remember when I said that their shipping costs are built into the price point? They're already built into the price point. So that means that you can place multiple orders and not be charged shipping each time, which is very beneficial because, like I said, my top priority this time is Toasted Pumpkin Crunch. That is the fragrance that I want the most out of all of these fragrances that I talked about. That's the one that I want most. So my strategy on Sunday, when I get that early access code, I'm going to go in and I'm going to order that Toasted Pumpkin Crunch and check out. Bam. Okay, now I've got that ordered. Now I'm going to go back in, and my strategy is probably to get Coffin Cake and Dad's Pumpkin Pie. Those are going to be the next two. I'm going to throw those two in my cart. Check out, bam, get it done. Then I'm going to go back in. I'm probably going to go for that apple truffle. In fact, I might even go for apple truffle and the Dad's Pumpkin Pie. I don't know. I might do that first, just depending. I don't know. See, this is where I've got to figure this out prior to going in. Which one do I really want more? Make sure I check out. So I think like in May, I ended up placing like 4 orders because I had prioritized which ones do I want the most. Go in, place those orders, get them out. But I would say just try to avoid loading up your cart with like 4 or 5, because if you do that, you're going to miss out and things are going to sell out. I do know that caramel sundaes, since they've become a little bit more popular this year, they already had a pretty big presence over on Instagram. But myself and a couple of other of my fellow creators started talking about them more on YouTube. And so I think that that's garnered more interest. And so they've had, I think their January restock was just insane. And I'm not sure if they were quite yet prepared for the onslaught. And so in successive restocks, they have been prepared. They've been pretty well prepared, I would say, for the restocks. And I haven't seen things sell out as quickly. I mean, there have been some products that were high demand that those sold out right away. But yeah, just be aware, you guys, that like you need to have a plan for what you want to purchase. Don't try to load up one cart because you will miss out on that. The other tips I had is make sure you're signed up for their rewards program, because they do have, you can earn up to 15% off of your purchase. So make sure that you sign up for their rewards program. The other thing I was going to say, something I forgot to mention in all of these is that they are going to have a very special limited edition, like I can't remember if it's ceramic or glass. I think it's a glass pumpkin. It's in like a very like limited edition launch. It's really cute. I believe it is going to be in their Bananas Foster fragrance, which that is also going to be available in a 2-wick. I already have a Bananas Foster from Kringle, and it's funny, they did get some inquiries like, does yours have like a woody or a burnt or like a charred element to it? And they were like, no, why are you getting that? And I actually messaged Sierra and I said, I think it's because Kringle, which is a very similar wax formula to caramel sundaes, Kringle has their Bananas Foster, but it's a very polarizing scent because it does have some smoky, charred, woody elements to it. And I said, that's probably why you're getting the inquiries. And she's like, yes, it makes sense now. But she said, no, their Bananas Foster does not have that. So if you are somebody who does not like Kringle's variation or their take on Bananas Foster, but you're wanting a Bananas Foster fragrance, you might want to consider the Caramel Sundaes version. Like I said, they're going to have it in that really cute glass pumpkin, very limited edition, and then they're going to also have it in their 2-wick format. So I think I covered everything I needed to for this video. Like I said, feel free to leave any questions down below. I do also have their Instagram link down below. They are very, very good about responding to inquiries and getting back to any questions. So definitely feel free to send them a DM over there. But like I said, I am very, very, very excited for this restock. Very excited for fall fragrances. I'm finishing up a lot of my summer ones, but honestly, my heart really belongs to fall fragrances. And I'm very excited, not just for Caramel Sundaes, but a lot of the other brands to start releasing them here in the very near future. So Once again, please hit thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Consider subscribing to my channel if you are new. You guys know whatever I am able to purchase and when it comes in, I will be sharing it with you guys here on this channel. So if you don't want to miss out, make sure you are subscribed. I do want to say thank you so very, very much for spending your time here with me today. And until my next one, I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day. Bye.